Hello and welcome to my second ever YouTube video. My name is Trose, my pronouns are she, her, and today we are building in one of my favourite worlds in The Sims 4, Sulani. We are building on the lot Tangled Flat, which is a 20 by 15 lot, and we are also going to be making some micro build today, so this is going to be a 32 tile lot. The budget is 18,500 and we are only using base game and island living for this. I absolutely loved building this. This was so fun to do. This was actually number 19 of our 100 tiny builds challenge over on Twitch that we are currently doing. It's a challenge I've set for myself to get better at building tiny builds, and this was such a challenge but also so fun to do. You'll see what I mean in a moment whilst we're building the roof here. The roofing was a little bit tricky. The roofing in The Sims can be tricky and it is a little bit tough sometimes, but in the best way, and once we've worked it out it's so satisfying to do. So here I've wanted to do something that was quite similar to what you can see around Sulani already, but obviously we haven't had round walls until now. So obviously there's no round walls to kind of go off, so I just wanted to incorporate roofing that you'd see around Sulani and add in that round roof to go with it. And I also was trying to match up the eaves here, so I don't feel like roofing works until the eaves match up, which can be really tricky to do, but again, once you've done it, it's so satisfying. So the eaves are those white lines that are going around all the roofing at the moment, and as you can see they kind of match up there, but later on I decide I want it to stick out even slightly more, so it kind of joins with the front of the circular roof and has a bit more of a straight line and a swoosh. The roofing is so bright for me and I was really excited to use this. It being green kind of has kept me safe in my comfort zone, but also very out of it because this is super bright for a build that I would normally do. As you can see around the lot here, we've got really bright bold roofing and bright houses. There was a mix between metal roofing and thatched roofing, and I really wanted to go for the metal because I always opt for the thatched. And here I'm putting in all the windows, all the neutral swatches from Sulani as they didn't have any green swatches. And then these base game green windows actually were a perfect match to the colour of the eaves of the roof. So I really felt like that tied it together nicely. And here, this is where I do a fake porch. So this is one of my favourite things to do with micro builds, is add in a staircase, and it kind of extends it up to the door, which kind of creates a fake area for a porch, even though it doesn't really make any sense and it is tiny. I think it helps add something to the build, and as we have a limited amount of tiles, just really adds that extension on. Here I'm working out the roofing again. I've brought it forward, which I shouldn't have done. I need to bring it backwards. With things like this, you need to play around with the eaves quite a lot, bring them out, pull them back in. If you are struggling with them, you can use the Alt key on this, which I didn't use for this actually, but if you want to use the Alt key to put them in somewhere very specific, that is a really good tip, and I love doing that. Here I got the roofing perfect in my eyes, just about. It lines up, so I was happy. Here I wasn't too keen though on where it overlaps in that corner. Luckily for us, in Sulani, or in the Island Living, the pack, there is some dangling plants, some dangling ivy bits here, and those perfectly hid the awkwardness. I'm also going to do the same at the front here. And then I realised actually it would be super amazing to have plants on the top and just add in more of the sort of natural world and natural landscape on top of the build as well. So it kind of looks like it's maybe been there a little bit of time. I think it's quite a cute look, and I just really love plants, and adding in more greenery is always a plus for me. Again, these items as well, if you don't know friends, they are live edit objects. So these live edit means things that you would see around the world that you might not normally see in your build by options or your catalogue. There are cheats in order to get these items up and for you to use and be available to you. However, you have to sift through every single item that comes up from the live edit, and it can be quite time consuming. I am using Twisted Mexi's Better Build By for this build, and also Twisted Mexi's Tool Mod. As you can see, I'm using that there. Better Build By is amazing and organises all of those live edit objects I was talking about previously into categories for you, so you can literally find them so quickly. and you can see what's available to you a lot quicker. And these are all items that you don't need anything in particular for. You don't need to download these are already in your game, so it's super fun to use things that are already there. And then once you upload these to the gallery as well, those objects will still be there and usable for the people who download your builds to use. The tool mod as well is incredible. As you can see, I was kind of lowering that vine into the roof there. But it can be very intimidating to use the tool mod. When I first got it, I will admit, I didn't use the tool mod for a good 3 months until I plucked up the courage to do so. And I would suggest, if you are going to use the tool mod, start small. Start using like small desk point numbers just to lower or raise it up items, or make them smaller and play with the scale and elevate first. That's a really good tip. Here I'm just extending this living space because we only need 4 tiles for our bathroom. So I've just extended that living space. I also want to add in a little platform here just to give it a point of interest and a little bit of a separation between the rooms without actually obviously separating them. I've gone for a very neutral base colour, so I've gone for a very beige type wood here, which I love using just because it's quite neutral, and then you can add in pops of colour as well, just to kind of give it lots of different tones. Here I'm putting in that really soft neutral. That's kind of like the one on the outside. I have used a more contrasted swatch on the outside, but here's what I'm talking about. So pops of colour. Sulani is a beautiful, bright, vivid world, and I really want to reflect that inside this build, but also keep it quite livable and usable for lots of different types of sims. So here I've added in a pop of colour of orange for the kitchen. I've also incorporated a few yellow and green items here. Those fish are from Island Living, and then obviously the salt and pepper shakers are base game, which is super fun to use. And again, I'm using tool mod just to raise it onto that ledge of that windowsill perfectly. Obviously you can use things like the red shelf tool and other shelves to get your objects where you want them, but personally I really like practicing the tool mod and using that where I can, just so I get a bit more familiar with it. Here I'm using a fruit crate box, which I thought was really cute for Sulani. I was obviously, maybe you would get some really gorgeous fresh fruit from the from the towns and things, but here I'm adding in lots of clutter and just kind of making it look a little bit more lived in. I really like that box as well because it incorporates the green and the orange that we've used in the kitchen. The green we're going to use over in the bedroom a little bit later, but here I'm adding in some more items just to give it that more lived in, homely feel. More plants are always necessary. I was really lucky with the budget of this one because it is a micro build. Micro builds don't tend to cost a lot to make, so that means you can be a bit more luxurious with your items even on a starter build. So for instance, this bed is one of the most expensive beds you get in Sulani. I believe it might be the most expensive one. I loved the green in it, and I've also used the green in the curtains, but the wood itself has a kind of orangey tone, which again is just perfect for the colour scheme we've gone for here. Next I'm doing the dining space, so I had the choice obviously of using either a little sofa or a little chair there. I always like to incorporate a tiny little dining space where we can, just because it's got a bit more functionality to it than a chair does. Obviously you can put your laptop there and things like that in The Sims now, and that's super useful. Here I'm putting in the bathroom, and I also put a sneaky shower outside. I thought this was really funny because obviously we got a Maxis Fave for this build. Oh, I don't know if I've mentioned that yet. We got a Maxis Fave for this build on the gallery, and it was my very first Maxis Fave, and I was absolutely shooketh that I would even be ever considered to be seen by the Maxis team, let alone get a Maxis Fave. I still remember when I got my Maxis Fave, I was on the phone to my mum, and even though my mum didn't actually understand what that meant, was still very excited for me because she could tell that I was excited, which I was very grateful for. And it meant the world to me, so I was super grateful for that, and it made me fall in love with this build even more than I already was in love with it, because it's green, it's got all the plants, and I was quite proud of it. Here I'm just placing in the like lower tree, and obviously as you can tell I'm struggling with the the scrolling tool. Again, I'm using a live edit tree at the back here because it's got fairy lights going around it, which is so cute, and normally can't use that one, so do keep an eye out for little like tricks and tips and cute objects like that in live edit. They honestly make the difference. Here I'm adding in, so I've looked around the world that I'm in, and I can see that they've used lots of these kind of like floral swatches, so I wanted to incorporate that and make it look like it just had grown further out from where all that grass is, and kind of brought it into my lot, so it kind of looks a bit more naturally placed within the world. Here I'm adding in more of those beautiful swatches. Again, these items are live edits, so they are free, so they do not affect my budget, so this is why I'm using quite a lot of them. Also, I love the kind of over the top planty, overgrown almost gardens. I always think they look super natural and fun to do. And I love these monsteras. If there was one plant I could ask for in The Sims 4, it definitely would be a potted monstera. I adore monsteras. I've had such good luck with them in real life, but yes. We've also added an elephant, and this is actually because of a point redemption that I have on my channel, where members of the community, once they've saved up enough points, can add in a plant to my game. And someone very cleverly suggested an elephant, a topiary, and I was like, why not? That'd be fun. And also quite cute, a little bit more personality for the build. I've also realised we've got quite a lot of budget left over here, so I'm adding in lots of skill items. So we've got a telescope, a chess table, we also have the outside shower, and we also have the easel. The outside shower, my thought process behind this was, if we have it around the back of the lot, then it's not so you can't really be seen. But if you're having a whole day at the beach, maybe you've been in the salty water, you've got sand all over you still, and it still hasn't quite dropped off, before you go into your house, you can obviously wash it off behind the house, and then it's nice, you're nice and clean. And then I also wanted to add these stone path in. Again, I love this stone path. It's so pretty and I just absolutely adore using it. And also for practicality, if you've got loads of sand on you, if you're stepping on stones, it's probably more likely to fall off you. I know I'm overthinking this, the Sims don't care, but I do. And here I'm just making it have a loop, so it kind of almost looks like a half a heart here, like it has a loop that goes around, and I honestly had so much fun with this build. Here are some of my finishing touches. So I always add in terrain paint underneath any of my plants. I always think that's definitely a go-to. I can't leave a build without doing some terrain paint somewhere. I think it's a really good way just to lift your build, make it look a lot more natural, and kind of blend in a bit more. Obviously, when you have plants in flower beds and things like that, you don't have grass underneath them, so it just feels a bit more natural to do that. I also wanted to add like a little bit of a sand glow around all of these stepping stones, because again, the grass wouldn't grow all the way up to them maybe, and then where you've stepped on them after a whole day at the beach, the sand is kind of sprinkled off you, that kind of thing. And here I'm just adding a few more sort of like mud marks as well that are trailing off towards the path, so that it looks like that's maybe where your Sims tried a lot to get to those items, just again to make it more natural. But here I'm just looking around, making sure I've done all of that landscaping properly, adding in maybe a few more bits of greenery here and there. But I'm pretty happy with how that looks at this point. And so I'm going to do some shots now of the build in being play tested. Thank you so much for watching the video today. I really appreciate it, and I hope you had so much fun, and I hope you enjoyed watching this build come together and come to life. If you did enjoy watching this speed build, please do give the video a thumbs up. If you want to leave a comment of what's your favourite thing to do in Sulani, or if you have another favourite world that you would personally love to escape to right this second, which one would it be and why? And if you want to subscribe, that would also mean the world to me. Thank you so much for watching it. I really appreciate it. If you watch to the end, you'll also see what normally happens to my playtest Sims. So yeah, thank you so much again, and I'll see you all next week for my next speed build. Thank you very, very much indeed. Soodle Pip.